Storytime, 1950s edition. This is a family story that my grandmother, now deceased, told me all my life. Grandmama was an epic storyteller, and this tale is a family legend. I can't confirm if it's accurate, but if you are just here to Mark Rober the details and play Mythbusters with the physics, please just move along and ruin the magic of someone else's family lore. My grandfather died before I was born, and my grandmother would tell me such amazing tales of their deep love, hardships and life together that I felt like I really almost knew him. This story takes place in mid-1950s rural America. For context, that was a time and place when it was common and expected that for most households the men worked, and the women stayed home, kept house and raised the children, and the man was unequivocally the head of the family. These were the values of my grandparents and they were happy with it. By all accounts, my grandfather had an adventurous palate and loved to try new foods. There wasn't an exceptionally large variety of exotic or new foods available in rural small town groceries or markets in that era, so mostly people made dozens of variations of all the same foods they were familiar with or could grow in their gardens. Well, the story goes that there had been some conversations at work that day where my grandfather had been bragging about what a good wife he had and how she would always cook him anything he asked for to eat. I can almost hear the guys going, "Oh yeah? Is that so? Well, what about?" Quote, "So my grandfather, Felix, comes home and he tells my grandmother, 'Gladys, I want you to bake me a watermelon.'" Gladys, quote, "What?" Quote, "Felix, I've decided I want to try baked watermelon and I want you to cook it for me." Gladys, Felix, "I'm not baking a watermelon." Felix, "Well, of course you are. Because I've asked you to." Gladys, "Absolutely not. That's absurd. You can't bake a watermelon. It will." Quote, "Felix, now see here. I'm your husband and all this arguing and carrying on is uncalled for. I've already told the guys about how you'll make me anything I ask for and that you'll make me this, even though they think you won't. Now, I put this roof over our heads. I'm the man of this house. And if I want you to cook me a watermelon, then that's what you'll do." Having played the dreaded man card, my grandfather had secured the argument, and I could always picture my grandmother standing there seething until suddenly going stone cold. The only sign of trouble, that little twinkle of malice in her eye. Gladys, "Fine, Felix. So be it. I will bake you a watermelon. On one condition. You'll clean up after it." My grandfather, having foolishly cut her off earlier, and believing now that he had the upper hand, saw no problem with this and easily agreed. After all, how much trouble could it be to clean up after a watermelon? As the story goes, when that watermelon exploded inside the old stove, it blew the top completely off and it was like a red liquid sugar bomb hit the entire kitchen. My grandfather, a man of honor and true to his word, and newly repentant for his attitude and not listening to his wife, cleaned everything. Walls, ceiling, floors, the entire kitchen. My grandmother got a new stove out of the deal, as well as the delicious victory of, "I tried to tell you." And Felix got to go back to work and tell the guys that his wife had, in fact, baked him a watermelon, that it was absolutely indescribable, and how he hoped that they had wives as good as his and would soon get to try it for themselves at home. Epic. Edit 1. Small edits for spelling errors. People grill watermelon. You could totally bake it. You gotta slice it up first though. Tears of joy, tears of joy. How he hoped that they had wives as good as his and would soon get to try it for themselves at home. Felix showed A, he had learned something, and B, he had a devious sense of humor. And Felix got to go back to work and tell the guys that his wife had, in fact, baked him a watermelon, that it was absolutely indescribable, and how he hoped that they had wives as good as his and would soon get to try it for themselves at home. LMAO, if I'm going down, I'm taking you all with me. Quote, I liked it so much, I bought her a new oven. Quote, too bad grandma is gone. I'm sure she was someone I would have loved to know. This is a great story. Gord damn, this was a good story. Good on you, Gladys. Good on you. Not malicious, but reminds me of something my mom did when I was a kid. She was making ghee. You melt butter and separate off the solids that rise to the top. Something came up. She turned the stove off and did something else for a while. Came back home. Turned the stove back on. Didn't realize that the top of the mix had solidified but the bottom was still liquid. After a little while, the liquid underneath erupted and coated the entire kitchen in greasy chunks of butterfat. I was 6 and thought that butter dripping from the ceiling was hilarious. I don't remember much else. I don't think I was very useful at helping to clean. The first time I saw a watermelon task on Taskmaster, I thought they were going to do something a bit Dexter. Watermelons are messy. I wonder if she'd stabbed it first. Maybe it might not have exploded. Like a baked potato. Saving you all some time, effort and expense. My brother followed up on some advice about sterilizing his contact lenses using a late 1970s microwave. It was new. He blew the door of the microwave open. I don't know whether he evaporated all the water out or it was just a bad idea in the first place. I think the microwave had a shorter life than it would have had otherwise. But as I recall, the microwave still worked. The contact lenses, not so much. I 100% buy it. After all, how much trouble could it be to clean up after a watermelon? Oh, Grandpa Felix, if only you listened to your wife that time. In them days, yes, the man card trumped everything, but back then, they were also true to their word. This is beautiful. I love this story. Your grandparents sound like the best sort of folks. That's epic. A well-told story. Thank you. And, I like both of your grandparents. I started laughing about halfway through when I realized what she was thinking. Thank you for a great story. You're a very good storyteller yourself. This was an excellent read. I hope you write more. All I see in my head is Megaman smirking before shouting. Explosion. Source, Anime Konosuba. Your grandmama sounds wonderful. Small correction though, in case you weren't aware. The word you need is palate to describe the roof of the mouth ability to distinguish flavors. Palette refers to the thin board an artist uses for paints, or to describe a range of colors, hues. Snipes labels this story as untrue.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.